Okay, folks, so this is how it works. Follow along. My great grandmother, Elna Brown, was Mohawk. Her mother, actually, she was Afro Indigenous. Her mother, Mary, married an African American man named Charles. They had her. Mary's mother was Mohawk women who came down from Canada, reservation in Canada. So you have Elna, who married an African American whose name was Augustus Williams Sr. Don't have any photos of him, but I've seen a photo of him and he was very, very dark skinned. Very, very dark skinned man. Deep, dark, like Wesley Snipes. Those two had children. They had Theodore, who died by drowning when he was about 14 years old. And they had Augustus Jr., who is my grandfather. My grandfather is an Afro-Indigenous man. Married Miriam Evans. Miriam Evans was a German, Irish, English, and Welsh, but for the sake of easiness, I'll always just say Irish and German. Her mother was German. Miriam's great-grandparents came over to Newark, New Jersey from Baden, Germany, and her father was first-generation Irish-American, born in Long Island. And so, Augustus Jr. and Miriam Evans married and had 8 children. All of those children came out very light-skinned with various textures of hair. Some of them had very straight hair, like whatever, indigenous looking hair. Some of them had more like Afro kinky hair, or whatever you want to call it, where they wore afros and stuff, but they're all light skinned of varying degrees because there are different tones to complexions. As I'm a very light skinned woman, but I have some like yellow undertones. I was told probably because of my West Indian heritage, which brings me to this. So, the first of Augustus's and Miriam's children was Josephine, who is my mother, or who was my mother. She also passed away. Josephine got with Bobby, who is my father. Bobby's mother is first generation Bahamian American. So she and all her cousins, my third cousins, were born here in the States. Those two had me, and I, again, look the way that I do. And y'all know, y'all seen my hair is in there somewhere. Y'all seen my hair. I have locks. I have, again, Afro type hair. I don't understand all the 4Cs and stuff like that, but I have Afro hair. I used to rock fros and everything. It has more of a softness to it, I'm told by other people who I guess do have 4C hair, but nonetheless, that's my hair type. Of the 8 children that my grandparents, Augustus Jr. and Miriam, had, they all had children. Their fathers and my stepfather, who my mother had all her other children by, have all come out looking in all sorts of ways. Some just look outright African American, like you're like, oh yeah, you're just some black dude. Others, you look at them and say, what you mix with? You Dominican? Because, people really aren't very nuanced in ethnicities. They don't understand ethnicities, which is the whole point of this video. So some of them just look outright Black American. Some of them you see they have the dark skin, but they may have silky hair, which will pose the question, what are you mixed with? Others of us look Puerto Rican or something like that. Coming up in a black community, if folks weren't like straight dissing me because I was a white girl, others thought I was Puerto Rican. I lived in South Newark growing up most of the time and on Pennsylvania Avenue. And so that whole area is nothing but Latinos and blacks. And so aunties of mine had children with, I have a cousin who has a Puerto Rican father. I have cousins who have Dominican fathers. I have, of course, this African American, because African American is just a mixture of, let's throw this in a pot, and some of them, just like us, have indigenous heritage. My point is this: you cannot look at someone who presents as simply African American as being a pretendian. You don't, first of all, people who keep making those assertions don't know enough about their own heritage. And a lot of y'all got whole white mamas, or like me, whole white grandmamas. So you really should be a little more humbled, I'm thinking. Now, I do understand there are a lot of African Americans who do not have indigenous heritage. There is this ridiculous, non-evidenced idea, untruth within the black community that has been gaining more and more velocity, it seems, even from so-called scholars and PhDs that I have heard, that all black people in America have indigenous ancestry. That is not a thing. It's not so. But with that in mind, and also, all the people who may have really been told by family members that they got Indian in them because of their hair types or what have you. For some reason, it never is thought, oh, maybe your hair is like that because of your white ancestry, or perhaps, captors who held their ancestors as, enslaved people. Maybe those mixtures are coming out. Maybe that's why your eyes are the color they are, or you know what I mean, or the reason why your lips and your nose are the way they are. Or it could come from your Eritrean ancestry or something. It doesn't always have to do with indigenous people. So yeah, I've heard many people in the black community growing up say, like older people say, like, yeah, we have Indian in us, that's why his hair like that on the side. All the other stuff look afro as mud. But for those people, and I do not by any means, my own idea, I do not believe that all of the people who say my grandmama said, I don't think all their grandmama said nothing. And their grandmamas wouldn't have been able to tell them who their great granddaddy was. How they gonna be able to tell them that they Indian? They just didn't have that much information the vast majority of the time. Although that being said, you cannot look at somebody and tell that just because they're arrogant, or even if they're being assholes and obnoxious, the way a whole lot of them are, you still cannot look at them and say they are pretendians. Let me tell you something. For all the anti-colonizer rhetoric you all spew, you are exactly purveying colonizer racism and ideologies. You're no different. You're not. So for you to say such and such, it's not been lost on me that aside from once on TikTok, when I first got on TikTok about 6 years ago or something like that, one person, this Chicano looking cat, I don't know, might have been Apache, I don't know. He came for me because I had a couple of video shorts. Actually, I might repost them. But I had a couple of video shorts saying, you know, Afro-Indigenous pride. And I have photos of my people. And then he was like, they probably ain't even your family. So I'm just plucking random pictures of light-skinned people. saying light-skinned to dark-skinned people, saying that they're my folks. That's weird. But aside from that one dude, I have never had my claims to be an Afro-Indigenous countered, or, you know, somebody trying to contradict. Never once. But my son, who has done far more for Indigenous people than any of these folks who talking Pretendian, you know, jargon and rhetoric, far more. Far more. I think in the same way that black people think that them having dark skin makes them more black and more able to speak on blackness, or, you know, how they may go to Kwanzaa celebrations or something like that, or maybe even rock locks, and now they think that they are the culture. You can't tell me nothing. I know, because look at me. But they do zero for the community. I see a lot of Indigenous people online do the same thing. They go to the powwows, they got the regalia they spend all that money on instead of buying books or setting up a free school for their children who gets crappy ass education from the government. They may do all those things. They may have the dances down and the songs and the rituals, but what do they do for the community? That is a testament of who you really are and what you really believe in and who you really love. That is the testament there. And so again, I know a lot of these cats are annoying as hell. They get on my damn nerves too. But if what we are going for here is truth, then it would behoove us all, I think, to, first of all, not engage in a bull. Whatever. I know it's appropriation is a fucking ass sore. I get it. Just as Rachel Dolezal, what Rachel Dolezal was to the black community, these cats are to the Indigenous community. I understand. But if what we are going for is truth, then it takes more than emotional back and forth, in my opinion. It takes more than emotional back and forth. If what we want to do is unify and be anti-colonization and anti-colonized rhetoric and ideologies, we ain't gonna get there by saying, you ain't no real Indian, you ain't no real Indian. You don't know if they're real Indians, first of all. Hell, they may not know if they're real Indians. It don't matter. It does not matter. There is a real job that must be done. And as terrible as black Americans have it, Native Americans have it far worse. So y'all thinking that engaging with the fuckery on TikTok or wherever else is giving you some sort of upping hand, because I get it, you're fighting back. You're like, I ain't sitting here taking this ish no more. Start with research, start with education, and then instead of coming with the Pretendian wobble bullshit, you can come with evidence, and that's how you shut people down. And for the ones who want to just keep going on and on about how they're the greatest and their ancestors was the greatest thing since air, and how their ancestors were superheroes, which must mean that they're superheroes and they're above everything and everybody, and everything started from them because they're not just an offshoot ethnicity like everybody else from Africa. You know, as they say, the first people were from Africa. We know indigenous people do not come from Africa, but we're talking about arguments here. People who believe that Africa was first and that they came, dark-skinned Black Americans are a direct, pure line from that. It's ridiculous. But if they want to believe that, if they want to believe that they're from Egypt and so they're better and they're, so what? Let's stick to the facts. Let's find the focus first of all, because I don't think most of y'all see it. Find the target, find the goal. That's what we need to be doing. You need to be building your communities, and I have a whole host of stuff I'm about to put out to the world, to the people, for this Stand with Two Clouds year this year. As some of y'all know, the theme is Those Who Can Lead, and I will be offering real world, real obtainable ideas and activities that we can put forth to start building our communities. Particularly, my focus through Beyond Clouds is the indigenous community as an Afro-Indigenous person, because that's a whole other video about how Afro-Indigenous people have learned how to fight and how to resist in a vastly different way, it seems to me, than people who grew up on the res and, had to go through the whole adoption and foster care system and stuff, which I also had to go through the foster care system. So anyway, with that being said, let's get it together. Stop engaging in the BS, y'all. We got work to do.